Hello and welcome to the channel. I am here for an album review for you guys. This is once again not for a newer release. This is a throwback review. And for this review, I will be reviewing an album by the band Linkin Park, who is probably my favorite nu metal band, if not one of my favorites in that genre. Of course, rest in peace to Chester. Definitely a really great band. So the album I will be reviewing is The Hunting Party by Linkin Park. Now, maybe some of you are wondering, of all their albums, why The Hunting Party? Mainly because I've just been returning to certain songs from this album as of recent, and I thought it would be interesting to just talk about this album, because this is definitely an interesting part of their discography, because this is kind of where they take it back to the roots, and I do quote-unquote on purpose, because I personally do not think that this is a return to form, or they return back to their roots, or whatever the case is. This album to me is not as good as their old stuff. I know some people might say it's like on par up there with their old stuff, like Hybrid Theory and Meteora, but I personally don't think so. I don't think this album is nowhere near as good as those albums. It's still a solid album though. I still think this is a good album, but I just don't think it's as good as their first two albums, like a lot of people say, or have said when the album came out, of course. But maybe that's just like an initial listen thing or something. I don't know, but I would say that The Hunting Party is Linkin Park's best album since Minutes to Midnight. So yeah, it's definitely a good album. And I would even say that this is their heaviest album too. And I believe the band has even stated that this album sounds like it could have came out before Hybrid Theory, which it's kind of interesting because, so it's essentially like a prequel to Hybrid Theory, you could say. So if you listen to this album, you can definitely see where they're coming from with that idea. So let's go ahead and get into these songs. I will be going over every song because I am pretty familiar with this album. So this is one of those reviews that I'll talk about every song, at least for a little bit, that is. But first up, we got Keys to the Kingdom, which is not one of my favorites. I know it's a favorite for some people, but it's not for me. And the thing that I really don't like about this song is those vocal effects with Chester screaming or whatever the case is. I personally think that's so ear-grinding, and it even starts off right away when he's like, "No, control!" It's kind of ear-grinding if you ask me. But I don't know. I mean, the instrumentation, and there's parts about this song that I do like, but that part in particular, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of it personally. But Keys to the Kingdom, it's a decent song, but it's just overall not one of my favorites. Then we got All for Nothing, which features Paige Hamilton, and believe it or not, this is one of my favorites on the album. And that might sound shocking to some of you, since you guys know that I'm not really a big fan of rap. And I know that this song does have a decent amount of rapping in it. But I don't know. There's just something about this song that I just really like. I actually do like the rapping in the verses, and the chorus is pretty good too. I think it's a good song. Like I said, probably one of my favorites on the album. Following that up, we got another one of my favorites on the album, Guilty All the Same. And it's hard to say who shines the most in this song because the band really does a really great job with this song. I mean, you got that long intro that has just heavy instruments, and, it lasts for a good bit. And then when you get to the vocals, Chester's vocals, pretty melodic, and I don't know, it's just a fantastic song. And this is one of those songs where I feel like Chester really does shine the most. Definitely a really great song. Pretty fun to listen to. So next we got The Summoning, which is just an interlude that leads right into War. Now, War is not one of my favorites on the album. As a matter of fact, it might be one of my least favorites on the album, if I'm being quite honest. My main problem with this song is the fact that it just sounds way too emo influenced, or emo sounding, or whatever you want to say about it. But I know some people say it's very punk influenced, which, that's one of the things I'm kind of like, not too big of a fan of it. Now, it is pretty heavy. Chester really is getting out those screams in this song, and I think vocally he sounds, his ranges are decently done in this song, but I don't know. It's just not one of my favorites. But it's not terrible. But then we got Wastelands, which if this song is not a favorite of mine, it's at least an honorable mention. I think this song is pretty good, actually. Not a song that I feel like gets a whole lot of attention from fans, I would say. But yeah, I mean, I like Shinoda's verses and, of course, Chester's chorus. It's a pretty melodic track, and I don't know, I like this one. Then we got Until It's Gone. Now, when I first heard this album, this was a song that I really gravitated towards. I mean, I think because of how upbeat and how kind of catchy it is. It's one of those songs that can maybe get stuck in your head. Um, it's not one of the heavier tracks on the album. It is um, it's kind of like something that you would maybe hear from Living Things, maybe, which was the previous album before this one. Um, but even though that's the case, I still think it's a good song. So, yeah, I don't think it's a favorite of mine, at least not anymore, but it's still very good, even though it's not that, heavy or, uh, heavily driven or whatever the case is, whatever you want to say about it. So, next we got Rebellion, which features Darren Malakian from System of a Down. Now, System of a Down, I think, is an only okay band. I don't hate the band, but I also don't like them or love them either. I am personally just not a fan of them. But this is a really good song, though, and you can definitely see that collaboration happened very well with this song. I mean, this song Rebellion is very System of a Down sounding if you listen to it. Like it's fast paced, and especially with the instrumentation, and I don't know, the chorus is pretty outstanding, and I even like that middle part or bridge section, whatever it is, where Chester's just screaming rebellion, and I don't know, it's kind of a unique part of the song, and I don't know, it's a good song. Next, we got Mark the Graves, which is kind of an underrated song from this album. Um, like Guilty All the Same, it has a long introduction that just has uh, heavy instrumentation. I mean, the drums definitely take the spotlight here. And then once you get to the vocals, I mean, Chester, he definitely shines in the song with his melodic vocal delivery, and it's just really good. Mark the Graves, even though I think it's underrated, I still wouldn't say it's a favorite of mine, but it is good though. Then we got Drawbar, which has Tom Morello, which I know some people were very disappointed in this one. This is just an instrumental. Um, it's kind of boring if you ask me. It's not anything special. I know some people were disappointed in this one, and I can definitely see why, but I don't think it's terrible. It's just, I don't know, kind of lacks replay value. Then we got Final Masquerade, which is one of the more emotional songs on this album. Yeah, it's a really good song. It's not one of my favorites on the album, but if you're into Linkin Park songs that rely heavily on emotion, this is definitely a song that's for you. So, yeah, it's a good song still. And then we got the closing track, A Line in the Sand, which I'd even say is another favorite of mine. I really like this song a lot. It's definitely a great song. It's really got a lot of its heavy moments in this song, especially with those drum parts. I mean, the drums throughout this album really do shine in the song. Like, you can hear them. They're like crystal clear when you hear them. Like, it's just really good stuff. And yeah, A Line in the Sand, I just really like the song structure and the way how the heaviness comes in. It's just a really great song and a really good closing track. Now, some people might argue that Final Masquerade would have made a better closing track, which I can kind of agree with, but honestly, you can interchange them with A Line in the Sand, and I'd be totally fine with either being the closing track, honestly. So there you have it, guys. That is my review for The Hunting Party by Linkin Park. I did become a fan of Linkin Park around the time when this album came out, which I know is very late, because I know that when most people get into Linkin Park, it's usually when they're, really young, but I don't know. I didn't become a fan until 2013, 2014, around that time. 2013, I think, was really when I started to like some songs from Linkin Park. But around the time when this album in particular came out, this is like really when I started to want to become a little more familiar with their discography, I guess. But I am glad I became a fan regardless. This is a good album. One of their best? No, I don't think it's one of their best. Maybe it's number 4 for me to rank their albums, but it's definitely not in my top 3. That's for sure. So, yeah, The Hunting Party by Linkin Park. It's a good album. If I were to give it a score, I'll have to give it an 8 out of 10. Now, obviously, I do have some complaints with this album. Some songs do lack replay value. Some of the songs are just like, oh, can't take it, you know? Like I said about those vocal effects in Keys to the Kingdom, I just still can't with that, honestly. But yeah, it's a good album, so check it out if you haven't already. It is Linkin Park's heaviest album, so if you're into heavy stuff, check out the album. But yeah, it's a good album overall, so let me know what you think of it. Thanks for watching, have a nice day, and take care.